Alabama lost its starting center to the NFL draft, but it may gain some new names here very shortly.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson, that's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime, and we appreciate you guys for making us an everyday listen because you guys have made Locked On the number one sports podcast network there is. So you guys are the best. Jimmy, Parker Brailsford, he has declared for the NFL draft, saying this is something he's always wanted to do, and he had the meme of him saying goodbye to everybody and whatever. I mean, look, I was sort of hoping he'd come back because now with Formby leaving, with Brailsford leaving, and with Kadyn Proctor set to announce that he's leaving here any minute, literally, boy, Alabama's offensive line is taking some hits right now. I'll tell you something else that makes me think about, and we'll talk about Ty Simpson and his decision a little bit later on, but it may signal that we may be having a totally new quarterback next year too.
Well, we could. First of all, Parker, what a great player. This is a great player. He's one of the best centers in the country. When he was at Alabama, that's going to be sort of proven out in the NFL draft, where I think he'll be a day 2 pick, which is really good for that position, which isn't a typical round 1 position. I think day 2 is about the best most can hope there for centers. But Parker, such a good kid, such a leader, just a starter the day he showed up. You know, he beat out. Well, I know this was at the time I was telling people, because I was going to practices there and coming from the media, and I was telling people and they weren't believing me, but I'm like, you know who's turning into a good player? James Brockermeyer. Brockermeyer's turned into a good player. I think he can play and win in this league, and people had already sort of given up on the Brockermeyers, but I'm like, no. James Brockermeyer is a good player. I was right. Brockermeyer went TCU starter, then went to Miami, and now might be the starting center in a national championship team. You know, Brockermeyer was doing really well at Miami, but Parker Brailsford beat him out. Brailsford beat him out quickly, you know, when he got here. That's why I knew Brailsford was going to be really good, because I knew he was better than Brockermeyer, and I was sold that Brockermeyer was good. So this is a loss. Boy, Alabama's offensive line feels like, hey, last man out, you know, turn out the lights. They so many of them have left. And there's a lot of question marks here, but probably the replacement for Brailsford is going to have to come from the portal. Alabama has offered 2 centers in the portal, Brock Riker from Texas State, Caden Strayhorn from Michigan. I think they've got a really good shot at Strayhorn, a decent shot at the Texas State guy. Everybody wants that Texas State guy. There could be financial things that make it tough there, but Caden Strayhorn from Michigan would be. I know some people are like, how do you know he hasn't really played? That's true. But Alabama knows his game well, and his tape from how little he played as a true freshman is very impressive. Love his intangibles. Caden Strayhorn, a center who's the son of a center. That's pretty cool and very close to that Jelly Roll Son of a Center song. Son of a center, not son of a center. This isn't Jelly Roll podcast. Strayhorn played with Michael Carroll at IMG. Oh, Strayhorn's dad, who was a center at Michigan State, not only played at Michigan State, played for Nick Saban at Michigan State, which is interesting. So I do think ultimately the new center would come from the portal. Riker and Strayhorn are the names to watch there for right now. I do think 2 guys on the roster could potentially be the center next year at Alabama. Will Sanders, who's played primarily guard, has all the makeup of a center. And I think Will Sanders could do really well there at guard or center. Another guy to watch that I know from inside the program, from talking to people inside the walls, they're very high on Mal Waldrop. They think Mal Waldrop is going to be good. Mal Waldrop might also be good quickly. But here's the thing about guys that haven't played. You don't know until you know. You can be high on a guy, but until they play, you don't really know. They're not going to assume Mal Waldrop is going to be ready. They're probably not going to assume Jackson Lloyd is ready at tackle. And that's one thing I really wanted to stress about today is I think sometimes we project a guy as a starter, and a lot of times we're kind of doing off his high school ranking. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Jackson Lloyd or his development. I'm saying that one thing that we need to do, and by we, I'm talking to me and Luke and everybody that covers the sport, not just fans, but all. We don't need to assume Jackson Lloyd is ready to be a full-time SEC left tackle just because he was a 5-star in high school. But that seems to be what people are going off on. Just when I see his projected lineups, I've done them myself, and people just pencil in Jackson Lloyd at left tackle. Totally unproven. And see, there's a lot of reason for optimism, I'm told. And he might be the starter next year. Ultimately, what I'm getting at here, Luke, is I think they sign minimum 2, more like 3 starter types out of the portal, maybe 1 or 2 depth types in addition to that, like the kid from Mississippi State that's visiting now and yesterday, Jimothy Lewis, who is maybe a starter, maybe a 2. Very similar to when Alabama bought in Geno Vandermark. I think Jimothy Lewis is sort of in that boat. Like, maybe, but good depth for sure. That's what Vandermark was, and Vandermark ended up playing more than I think we even thought he would, due largely to injuries in his 2 years at Alabama.
The only other time I've ever heard the name Jimothy is in The Office when Michael Scott was trying to talk to Jim Halpert, and I think he was talking about a promotion or something. He said, James, Jim, or Jimothy, can I call you Jim? He's like, sure. And he had always called him Jim, like the whole show. But anyway, so I just thought Jimothy is very interesting. Look, the other thing is that I wonder if this will have an effect on Ty's decision, which we will talk about later on, in terms of, well, you're losing your left tackle, you're losing your center, you've also lost a guard, you're going to have a bunch of new faces. Do you want to come back and deal with that? So that's, again,
that's a great point. That's a great point. Does he want to have his audition year for the NFL behind 4 new offensive line starters? That's a great point.
But, the other side of it may be the offensive line wasn't super this year. I mean, as a group, we love Brailsford. I wanted Brailsford to stay. But maybe a new unit will be better than what the old unit was. That's certainly a potential. I'm not saying it will or won't be. I'm just thinking out loud as we're getting this news that's rolling in. Meanwhile, Cam Calhoun has also jumped into the portal. That's no big stretch. We kind of could see that coming. His mom seemed to be very unhappy on Twitter, on social media, often. And you could see that coming. I'm a little shocked he wasn't contributing more. I don't know if that's a blame on the coaches, because the secondary seemed to be pretty good, the last game notwithstanding.
Yeah, Cam Calhoun, his thing is you bought him in to be a potential starter, but you had Damani Jackson, Xavier Brown coming back, right? So Cam Calhoun comes in, and he's probably going to be number 3 behind those guys. And then along comes Dijon Lee, who just sort of leapfrogged him and even eventually leapfrogged Damani Jackson to become a full-time starter opposite Xavier. And that's why Cam didn't play. And I know that they were very frustrated about that, but I don't know how often you see a Dijon Lee coming down the train tracks, but that's why he didn't play. There's no reason to think Cam Calhoun isn't the player that Alabama thought he was. He just got passed by Dijon, and they're going to play 3 corners. Cam played some. He played some as kind of a 4th corner, but they kind of played those 3 guys most of the time, and understandably why. The shame of it to me is, well, now Damani's move on to the NFL. Now the projected starters are Xavier on one side, Dijon on the other. Now you're the 3rd cornerback. Now you will play, but he's also gotten later in his career, and he's like, no, I want to be the full-time corner starter. That's understandable. I don't think Cam Calhoun is, to me, the only guys that are losses are guys that you project as starters or guys that you project as co-starters. And to me, all 3 guys they lost on Sunday were in that boat. Wilkin Formby was a major candidate to start at guard at Alabama. That's why he left. Michael Carroll sort of won that right tackle spot. Formby wants to play tackle. Wasn't going to happen at Alabama. That's primarily the reason that he's no longer there. But it is a blow because strong contender to remain a starter as a guard at Alabama. Keon Keely had certainly moved up into number one status going into next year, at least number one with Jordan Renaud. He's in the portal. That's disappointing to me. Rico Scott, probably not, I don't know if you want to call it a starter, but Rico was going to be among Alabama's top 4 receivers based on the current guys coming back. So it's a little disappointing for me that he lost some patience. He wants to be more of a top 3 type guy than a 4th guy. That's why he's gone. But I will say this one thing. I don't want anybody to get optimistic here, but I understand there's still some talks with Keon Keely. That may not be over. You can go in the portal and come back to the school, like kind of like dating Lewis a year ago. The Keon Keely thing may not be over, but I'm also not yet told to be super optimistic about that. But we'll see.
Going to talk a little FanDuel now. Y'all know we love FanDuel over here. Fridays already feel different during basketball season, and FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 5 to 6:30 Central Time have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour. Opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour always brings something new like boosts, bonuses, and surprises. The timing is perfect right before the games, right before the weekend starts. You can get it kicked off just right, or tipped off, I should say. So before tip-off, check out the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sports book partner of the NBA. And I got it right. Okay, so a couple other things about the portal here. Oh, and also let's talk about some of the guys that are reporting this week. There are 10 new guys coming in. But as far as the portal goes, the offensive lineman, last name Peak from NC State, and Alabama seems to be very interested there. He is a guy, man, I looked at some of his grades, and this guy doesn't give up a lot of sacks. I mean, doesn't give up a lot of pressures. He's the kind of dude, okay, let's get behind this action.
Potential high round pick after another year of college football. I mean, Jacarius Peak, an immediate starter at the SEC or any level, played some right side at North Carolina State, transitioned to left side this year, was just as good. NC State, as a team, you're like, well, they're not much. They beat as many ranked teams as anyone not named Alabama. I mean, NC State had this weird thing where if you were ranked and you played NC State, you lost. Meanwhile, they would lose to unranked teams. But NC State obviously good enough to play against really good teams. And Jacarius Peak, he would be a grand slam home run. You're going to have to break out the checkbook for him, but that one might be one that they do exactly that. He would be big time. He would be the grand slam home run immediate starter. Then you have him at the left side. You have Michael Carroll on the right side. Now Jackson Lloyd can come along at his own pace, and you're not just throwing him into the deep end with no floaty. I mean, now you've got 2 bedrock tackles there, and Jackson Lloyd and maybe Jimothy Lewis providing some nice depth at tackle, and then you got your freshman that you just signed coming in. Peak would be a big deal. Big deal.
He would be a big deal, and so then if you get him, and you get the center from Michigan, who I think is more likely than the center from Texas State, like you talked about.
Yeah, Strayhorn. The thing about Strayhorn, here's the negative side. The negative side, he hasn't really played. He only played in the 4 games or less, to maintain his red shirt at Michigan, and he's young. He'll be a red shirt freshman when he shows up. And he was on 3 consensus 3-star. So I get anybody's like, why does anybody think he would start? Well, first of all, he'd be brought in as a competitor to start, and he would have to beat out guys like Will Sanders and Mal Waldrop. No one's going to be given anything. But Alabama knew about this guy out of high school. He played at IMG Academy next to Michael Carroll. Like, again, a center who's the son of a center. His tape as a true freshman at Michigan is impressive. I think he would be an immediate contender to start. I don't think they would just hand him the center job, but it would still be a nice pickup. Kadyn Strayhorn visiting, I think, today.
Well, and he also was teammates at IMG with Mike Carroll. Mm-hmm. And by the way, there was a lot of talk of Mike Carroll getting in the portal, which I thought was very strange. Again, I did run into his dad and spoke to him for about 30 seconds at the Rose Bowl. And I didn't get any sense at all that this is a guy that's headed to the transfer portal. Now, granted, why would he tell me? But it's just, you can sort of get a feeling, an instinct. And look, I don't think he seems to be very happy where he is, and he knows he's going to be a starter next year, and he's probably about to start making some real NIL money. So yeah, I think that he's going to be hanging around.
Yeah.
And so
all indications are he's staying.
Yeah, and he was a teammate with
Kadyn Strayhorn.
Strayhorn. And so I think that maybe there's some, synergy there.
Yeah.
And that's a big positive. Now, let's talk about some of these guys that are coming in this week. They're actually today. You got Xavier Griffin coming in, EJ Crowell, Jira Edwards.
Oh, the freshman guys. I was like, what? I didn't know you were going to talk about the high school guys. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a Xavier Griffin in the transfer portal. That's weird. Bryson
Cooley, Real Kelly. I'm hoping I'm saying that right. Trayshawn Brown, Bear Fretwell, Taden Kawa, Tyrell Miller, and Nick Sherman. Those last two, of course, are junior college guys. But all of these are coming in now to start getting in some work. Love that. Again, what I keep telling myself is hopefully maybe part of what we saw in the Rose Bowl is not going to happen again because Kalen DeBoer will have his people in. Again, I'm not saying these guys aren't talented, but there is definitely some kind of drop-off, I would think, normally when you've been at the pinnacle under one coach, another coach comes in. It's probably hard to buy into some of the things he says when you weren't recruited by him. It's going to boy, as that came out of my mouth, it feels like I'm making an excuse. I'm not. Indiana kicked our butts. Okay. I don't want to, all I'm trying to do is figure out the reason, and the reason is, of course, they're a lot better than we are, but why are they better than we are? And what can we do to prevent that from happening again? And so again, my hope is that Kalen DeBoer's people are likely to play harder for the coach that recruited them. Is that out of bounds, Jimmy?
No. I think it's. I would just word it differently, but we're on the same page here. I think I would talk about how they're fit into his system. DeBoer was trying to make his system fit guys he didn't recruit, but guys that he's recruiting are clearly fits into what he wants to do, and maybe that's why it may work better, even if many of them weren't rated as highly as some of the Saban guys, but they're fits into what DeBoer wants to do. That's why Kurt Cignetti, one of the many reasons he's having so much success at Indiana, he's got a system. His kids that he's got at Indiana fit what he wants to do, even though almost all of them are 2- and 3-star players. They're fits into his system, and it works really well. So yeah, I'm excited about those high school guys moving in. A lot of them will be counted on to be good quickly. I think that's just the nature of football in 2026, where basically what happens is your starters stay. That's why I like Michael Carroll stay in Alabama, losing very few starters to the portal. The starters stay, or anticipated starters, but the depth leaves. They're not satisfied with being depth. They want to be starters. So your depth in so many cases are the true freshmen that just got there.
I got it before you said you're muted. Just letting you know.
That was quick. That was quick. You have really lightning quick. Relaxes.
Somebody, I remember a comedian said, my friend has cat-like reflexes because every time somebody comes in the room, he jumps up from what he's doing and leaves. I don't know why that made me laugh. All right,
so
remind
cats always think they should be somewhere else.
that is true. And what Shane Gillis has a great bit about he of course he has a relative with Down syndrome, and but he talks about it in a humorous way that is not derogatory, which is very cool. And again, I had some relatives they've passed now, but that had different issues, kind of the same vein. And it is weird to ever tell stories about it, because you're not making fun, you're just telling a funny story, right? But Shane Gillis said, he said, most of my friends are like cats. When I come in, they're like, what are you doing here? What do you want? What can you do for me? He said, but I love, and I can't remember if it's a brother or a nephew or whatever that happens to have Down syndrome, this in his family. He's like, every time I go over to his house, he's the happiest person on the planet. He's always like, man, I got so much to tell you, and so anyway, I don't know. And he said, yeah, that's kind of like dogs versus cats. Every time you come home from being out, a dog's like, man, where have you been? Where have you been? I've been worried to death. And a cat's like,
tell you.
Would you bring me anything? You didn't bring me anything? Anyway, so one other thing I want to remind everybody, join the LockedOnBama.com Everydayer Club. LockedOnBama.com/Everydayer Club, LockedOnBama.com/Everydayer Club. You get access to the Discord channel, which Jimmy and I respond to. You also get an ad-free podcast. It's only $5 a month or $50 for a year. I mean, you can't afford not to join. So go join. I mean, that's what we're saying. Now it's time for a little game time. Y'all know I love it, and y'all know I'm going to say it weird. And I don't care that you know it. There's nothing like college football season, the tailgates, packed stadiums, and being right there in the middle of it all. The energy, the bands, the moments you remember forever. But actually getting tickets, that part used to be frustrating with long queues and logins and prices jumping up at checkout. That's why Gametime gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to unlock amazing college football tickets and experiences in just a few taps. Look, I opened the Gametime app and I bought me some Rose Bowl tickets. Now, I'm trying to get my money back because I didn't know we were going to get beat like that. But I'm teasing. They would do it if they asked them, though, because that's how nice they are. Knowing prices include all fees up front makes the whole process stress-free. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege. It's all one word for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply because they apply to everything. Again, that's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today, and then call Jimmy and tell him the clock starts now on that Jimmy Stein guarantee. It is getting more and more difficult to talk about the Jimmy Stein guarantee without just saying Jimmy Stein guarantee.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard hearing about it.
By the way, Michael Southern made a little meme or GIF. I don't know what it is of you holding some Rougiette and like pointing, saying, I guarantee this. And I haven't posted it yet because I was scared legally it would bind you to this guarantee. And I don't know really what you would do if something went wrong.
I'm just letting Rougette's lawyers know right now I've got nothing to do with it. I'm a victim. I'm a victim.
You are a victim. All right. So
don't like the product.
So Ty Simpson got a big decision to make. Look, Andy Staples is like hinted at potentially transferring somewhere. I think he's being purposely vague to get clicks. And I'm not mad at him. I'm just saying that's what I think. And I think that Ty's not going anywhere unless he goes pro. Going back to what we said earlier, with all these new offensive linemen, I'm still like 51-49 he goes pro. But I'm also looking at what some of the money some of these other quarterbacks get. Apparently, Sorsby going to Texas Tech from Cincinnati is going to be raking in roughly $5 million. I mean, that's ridiculous money for a one-hit guy. I mean, a one-year guy.
I'm not sure about that dollar amount, by the way. I mean, I think it's going to be a lot, and I think Texas Tech.
Well, they
do rev share differently than all the other big-time teams.
Yeah. Well, they may be doing more like among fewer guys, but I see that ending poorly. I'm like Saban. I don't see any way that ends well. If we have 10 welders out there and they're all the exact same, and I pay one of them, $250,000, and the rest of them 60,000, guess what's going to happen? A mutiny.
Yeah, Texas Tech, using that NIL strategy, beat only Big 12 teams. And when they finally played somebody good from a Power 4 league, Oregon, they didn't even score. Late in the season, I just don't like the NIL strategy, where a rev share strategy where you're paying 20 guys a lot and 180 guys nothing. You need more depth than that, and I don't like it. Hey, it's up to Joey McGuire and them to prove me wrong there. But no, Ty Simpson is just. I think the decision is just simply this: am I going in the first round? If I am, I'm going to the NFL. That makes all the sense in the world. I'm pulling for him. I hope that he gets information that makes him feel real comfortable one way or the other, so he doesn't look back. But I think it's simply that: is, am I going to be a first round pick? If so, I'm entering the draft. If I'm not certain of going in the first round, then I'm going back to Alabama. I think those, and I'm cool as a fan of Alabama. I'm cool with either way. I'll be happy for Ty in the first round. I'll be happy for Alabama if Ty comes back. Keep in mind that the reason that he's potentially a first round pick is that he's really good. And the NFL's looking, I say there's Ty 1.0 and Ty 2.0. Ty 1.0 was fantastic. First 7 games of the year, people were discussing him as winning the Heisman Trophy or being the overall first pick in the draft. From that point forward, the season started falling off a cliff for him. And why is that? Well, we said it here on the show. Even back then, Ty's banged up. He's not himself. If the NFL takes Ty in the first round, it's because they saw the same thing, that Ty 1.0 is a first round pick. They know they're not getting Ty 2.0. He'll be healed up and ready to go by then. So as to which way it plays out, I know as an Alabama fan, I'm comfortable with either one, because I think Ty's great. I also think Keelan Russell's going to be great, and I think Austin Mack might be pretty good. So let's see how it plays out. We'll know something on Ty, by the way. I think we're recording this Monday, maybe as soon as Wednesday even.
The only thing I'll say, and if Ty comes back, I'll be happy. If we get Austin Mack or Keelan Russell, and my guess would be I would lean Keelan Russell, but I thought Mack he did pretty well for himself in the Rose Bowl, as best he could under those terrible circumstances. I almost want to just, hey, let's have a reset. But I feel foolish saying that because I've been a Ty backer for a while now. And so I feel like I'm doing him wrong. It's a tough call for me. That's why I need to take the stance of whatever happens, happens.
Well, I think we should be good with it either way. I mean,
yeah, I think that's.
I don't think this is a win-lose thing for Alabama. I think it's win-win regardless. I just don't want, the only thing that's going to set me off, because people love when I get set off, this sets me off. No one's going to say this, but sometimes it comes across this way from some fans. It's like, I hope that guy gets out of our way and just heads to the NFL so we can get better. What?
Yeah.
What?
I hope that first round draft pick leaves us so that we can do improve. Even better and get a 0-round draft pick.
What the? I mean, are we that not spoiled? Doesn't even begin to describe that. To describe that. I mean, but that said, I like our quarterback room. It was just 3 guys. I like them all, including Austin Mack. So Austin hasn't entered the portal yet. I think that's a tell on Ty. I think we're waiting on Ty's decision. I think it's coming soon.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll Tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.